The next RNO basic features is about the scheduling. So in the LTE, it adopts a shared channel concept in both downlink and uplink, which is for downlink that's PDSCH and uplink that will be PUSCH. So these two channels, they are adopting a shared channel concepts where the resource will be allocated to the user via scheduling algorithm. So the users will be allocated the resource of these channels within a specific period according to a specific criteria. So the channel which is used to inform the user about the scheduling result is called PDCCH. So the user has to monitor PDCCH channel in order to decode the scheduling result for both uplink and downlink. So the scheduling period are divided into two types of the scheduling period, including 1 millisecond for dynamic scheduling, which is for most of the users or most of the services in LTE. And the second type of the scheduling period is 20 millisecond. That is for semi-persistent scheduling, which is usually applicable for VoLTE user. Then the resource which is used for scheduling is called virtual resource block, where the virtual resource block is the result of the calculation of the scheduling algorithm, and the virtual resource block has to be mapped to physical resource block, where the mapping could be localization or distribution. So this is the ideal resource, where we can see that based on the scheduling algorithm, maybe user A has been allocated this much of resource, so is the user B and the user C. All of this is the scheduling algorithm has to consider the loading factor and some other scheduling issues. So then the user will be sharing the total resource of the PDSCH together. And this scheduling result, it will change according to the scheduling period, whereas it can be 1 millisecond for dynamic scheduling, or it can be 20 milliseconds for semi-persistent scheduling. So we have mentioned that before that the dynamic scheduling is with a 1 millisecond of the TTI, where it applies for all services, and semi-persistent scheduling, it lasts for 20 milliseconds, and that is for real-time services such as the VoIP. So this is the introduction of the scheduler, where scheduler consider the UE capability and the quality of service parameters, which include QCI, the QCI which is the QoS class identification, the guaranteed bitrate, and the aggregated maximum bitrate. So all of the QoS parameters are considered. CSI, which is channel status indicator, that include the most important CSI, which is CQI, channel quality indicator. So CQI will be considered in the scheduling algorithm as well, followed by buffer status, which is the data volume in the buffer, and the downlink power or uplink power headroom, the HARQ feedback, which is it could be positive or negative acknowledgement, and whether we are using MIMO scheme or not, is it a 2T2R or 4T4R, or if we are using the ICIC solution. ICIC stands for intercell interference cancellation, so is ICIC used? Then scheduler consider all of this information and proceed to calculate to check if which user is to be selected based on the priority, and for each user, which modulation and coding scheme has to be selected, and the number of resource to be mapped, and whether is there any data which is pending for retransmission. So all of this result are the result of the calculation after priority handling, modulation and coding scheme selection, and resource allocation. So the scheduling execution, the scheduling is carried by a downlink channel, which is PDCCH. The information carried by PDCCH channel follow the predefined DCI info. So the DCI information indicates the resource allocation header. So all allocation types will be included. The DCI format could be format 1, 1A, 1, 1B, or 2, 2A, 2B, and 3, etc. So 3GPP define a lot of DCI formats, each with its own objective. And the resource assignment block, so which PDRCH or PURCH resource block have been assigned for the user, which modulation and coding scheme assigned for the user, and MIMO scheme, and whether if it is a new data or if it is an retransmitted data, and whether this data stream fall under which HARQ process. So all of these informations are carried by PDCCH channel by using the predefined DCI format.